So that's what we're going to be doing today. So you've come in. I'm going to be doing an introduction just now. Kate's going to talk to us about the secrets of 365. Apparently there are loads of things within 365 that we're not using. We're only using a very small proportion of it. It's like that with a lot of software, I think. But today we're going to be excited to actually expand on what we know and go further. There's a chance then for question and answer. So what I want you to do whilst Kate's talking is to think about what you'd like to know and pop that in the chat. And then I'll pick those up and we'll have 10 to 20 minutes of question and answers. Then what we do is those who've only got an hour for lunch and need to quickly dash off, that's fine. Exit at 1:45. Those who want to stay, we'll put you into breakout rooms, whoever's left. We'll give it 2 minutes, then we'll put everybody into breakout rooms and you can have a chat. So it is a networking meeting, so you can put your cameras on or you don't have to. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. It is really supposed to be your meeting and relaxed. And all that will happen in that breakout room is you'll get a chance to introduce yourself, where you're from. You'll get a chance to say what your takeaway is from what Kate said. And you'll get a chance to give a burning question that you'd like to ask Kate when we go back into the room for the final questions. Okay, so it will only be a short session, that will. All right, it's 11:50. We're on time. It's all good. Let's crack on then. So I'll tell you a bit about Technicamps quickly. It's more than a project. It's a program, I would say. It's working out of 7 universities across Wales, and the point of it is a digital upskilling and STEM outreach across Wales. We mainly work in schools, but we've done loads over the years, and it's been going since 2003, and with digital never really ends. And so we do a lot of really nice community projects as well, teacher training. We're mainly funded by European Social Fund, which is great, and that we're on the second round of funding for that, and that's going until the end of next year. So, and we've had support over the years from Welsh Government, and we couldn't do any of it without the amazing team that we have got. And these are all the projects that we're involved with. So we've got clubs, we've got teaching. You're here on the WiST network, which stands for Women in STEM, and it was to encourage women who research says they lack confidence, and having a women's network is a good way of inspiring confidence and upskilling. This is the main project, the STEM enrichment project. That's going into secondary schools and teaching 11 to 16-year-olds about computer science, about science, technology, engineering, maths, in an innovative and fun way. We do loads of workshops. They're all free, and our team go in, and we've got a special niche, which is working with girls into STEM. So we're really encouraging the girls, because if you go into a university, into the computer science department, or into any business, in those IT jobs, you will find it's probably about 10% ladies, 10% girls, and 90% male. So trying to help to redress that balance by really encouraging the girls. So we've done some girls' schools, summer schools, and half-term schools just for girls, and trying to help with that gender imbalance. We start early. Oops, that's gone really fast. Then we go back on. Look at that. That's in a school, and that's the sort of thing we will be doing. But working with primary school, we'll go right back to primary school. We'll work with the teachers. So that's sort of a legacy thing. You teach a man to fish principle, and we've at the moment done a fully accredited course, and we are now doing some CPD for teachers on a new GCSE in digital technology, which is coming in September in Wales. I don't think they've got it in England, but they've got it in Wales. So it's a great qualification, and it's going to really do some great digital upskilling. We do some lovely coding clubs for children out of school. And some great events, as is today. Hopefully one of those great events that you all get involved with. This was the Minister of Education, the head of BBC, head of education for BBC in Wales, and this is a nuclear physicist, Gwen Parry-Jones, and that was our online conference that we did back on International Women's Day. We also do some fab competitions, and we've got one going at the moment called Home of the Future. And you can read all about everything that we do online on technicamps.com. And this is our annual report that we do, which has got all the details. So if you're interested, pick that up off our website with all the details there. Oh, going too fast. Curriculum development is something that we're involved with, obviously with all the universities, and involved in the development of the GCSE and the A-level digital technology, and development with qualifications and free resources. All of our resources that we provide are free. And here is Farah Moller, who is our Director of Technicamps. And we also have had some funding from the Institute of Coding, and we have an arm of that, the Institute of Coding in Wales, and we're using this as our business engagement arm. And through that, we are currently delivering, and Maria is on the call, I'm sure she'll be delighted to talk to you about the degree apprenticeship, which is running, which is a fully funded degree in BSc in Applied Software Engineering. It's a fantastic qualification. We've had about 100 or over 100, I think, through that programme at the moment. And the purpose of that is that they will get a degree at the end of it after 3 years working for their employer, but also coming into the university 1 day a week. So it's fabulous scheme and fully funded. And you're today part of the Women's Network that's up today, but men are allowed. It's just we're trying to encourage role models and people who will give back to the school. But today is your give back. It's a little bit of CPD and a little bit of interesting stuff. So as I said, more than a project, STEM, digital upskilling, school workshops, loads going on, and an amazing team. So I told you it was going to be quick. Because I'm not the main event actually today, that was WiST. That's the main event, is Kate Doodson, and here she is, beautiful Kate. And I met Kate, and her company is called Cosmic. So I don't actually know her as Kate Doodson, I know her as Cosmic Kate. So without further ado, I can stop sharing my screen because she's going to share hers, and I'm going to introduce you to her. Here is Kate Doodson.
Lovely, thank you, Julie. That's really kind. And yeah, most people know me as Cosmic Kate, so I'm going to say hello from a Cosmic Kate perspective today. It's really great to be here, and I'm really delighted to share 365 with you today. It's for me, it's one of my most excited areas at the moment. I'm getting very excited, and myself and a few of my colleagues are constantly swapping notes at the moment on what's the changes and what's happening in the world of 365. But to give you a bit of background on myself before I start the slide deck, I'm Joint Chief Exec of Cosmic, as Julie said. We're a female owned and run organisation. We're a social enterprise. We've been going for 20 odd years now, and we focus on digital skills. We focus on this notion that digital skills are absolutely important for all angles of society, from the most vulnerable adults right through to our senior leaders in society. And if we get this stuff right, we unlock the productivity really of our nations. So that's really what we're about. I've been working in the world of digital transformation for the last 6 years, worked in IT for 25 years, and I trained as a civil engineer before that. So those feelings of being very isolated as a girl and as a woman in this world feel very familiar to me, Julie. So that's something that I can certainly share with others. So without further ado, I'm just going to share my screen and hope that you can see my screen here. I'll just move on to that one there. Yeah, so what I want to do is kind of get us a sense today of this thing we've bought into 365, and actually sort of understand actually what have we got. There's a lot of work that's been going on behind the scenes in 365. But most of us use it for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and a few other things. And it's a bit like, it reminds me of the days when I was given a scientific calculator and all I used it for was adding up and taking away. And then realizing there was a whole other world. In fact, it was our first kind of computer programming environments that we could use within there. So the challenge that I've got now for the next 25 minutes is to share as much information as I can really with you on these apps. There's about 34 different apps in there, and most of us who've got a standard license or an education license will have access to pretty much most of these. Some of them you'll see that will say they're deprecating or depreciating within there. Some of them are that you need to pay for, so just be aware of a few of those, like Microsoft Project you need to pay for. But other than that, most of these are available. A lot of them I'm going to talk about today are available via the browser only as well. So just so that everyone's comfortable with 365, we can access it via our apps within our computers, but also in the browser environment, you'll see all the apps that are available to you from the home screen. The first kind of 3 apps that I want to share with you are Sway, Stream, and Forms. And I think these 3 are kind of very, if people use them, they're very underused or they're just ignored. And my absolute favorite I'm going to start with, which is Sway. And I'd love to know when we get into the Q&A, who uses Sway? Because if anyone remembers the days of Microsoft Publisher, I'm hoping I get some nods there, you know, that program that we used to all get really excited about and create something that looked quite special in it, and then try to share it with someone and no one else could open it. And then we would have to kind of go back and rebuild it in Word and all of those kinds of things. So instead of that, Sway is predetermined templates for, like Publisher, but much better, much more modern versions, but the best for sharing. It's the most simple way to share. We click on the share button, we can share a link, we can embed some code, and the whole document is interactive. So we can add in videos, we can add in links, we can add in Power BI for interrogation, we can add transitions into there, all of that stuff can go in there, and anyone, regardless of whether they got a 365 account or not, can access it. So obviously we can put privacy settings around it as well. So, you know, we can always build that stuff up, but it's a brilliant, brilliant piece of software. We can just copy from a Word document, you know, content, any content, just drop into the templates. Or now in Word itself, and this is my first secret I'm going to give you, in Word itself, if you click on File, Export, it'll export it straight into a Sway document for you. So there's some really kind of cool things in there now that allow you to interact between the two. Oh, that's what I was going to show you there. There we go, Sway document there. So File, Transform, Sway, that first little secret there. So have a little play with that and see what comes out when you build something straight from what often looks like quite a boring Word document. You can turn it into something that's quite attractive. So we can use Sway for lots and lots of different things. I'm working with businesses at the moment that are building Sway documents for all their inductions. So all those kind of helpful guides, all of those sorts of things, creating those as a Sway and then sending those out to people beforehand, allowing them to be able to watch and do those kinds of learning pieces, but even before they start the job. They're really useful for how-to guides, for tutorials, maybe staff or people that you might have taught something to them once, but actually they've forgotten that, so they need to see it again and again. So giving them a Sway that they can go back and see that as many times as they want is really brilliant. So, so have a little play with Sway, get a sense of it, and come up with ideas or share your ideas of ways that you've used it. The last way I just want to share with you there is about reports. If we've got to create end of term reports, end of quarter reports, putting those into Sway makes them much more digestible and takes much less time than putting it into a PowerPoint, for example. So that's my first little piece there around Sway. The second one I want to share with you is Stream. Now, Stream is like our own YouTube. It's the place where we can save videos, we can create videos, but it becomes somewhere that is within our domain that allows us to share those videos confidently. So we don't have to put them externally, we can keep them in there. Every time we record something on Teams, it will drop into Stream. I'm not going to talk so much about that today, but what I want to share with you is some little secrets. The first one is that you can record your screen. So you can do screen capture. Really, really simple. You click Create, Record Screen, and then you have several options. One where you can appear as a picture in the bottom and it will record your mic as well, or one which is just a screen capture, or one which is actually just you. So if you just want to do a quick video for something, maybe you've asked to do a conference or something like that, or just want to do a state of the nation or a chat to people, you can do that through Stream as well. So go on to Stream, create, drop down, record screen or video, and you can build it in that way. The other secret inside Stream is that now you can add forms onto the end of any video that you record. So you can create a video, put in a little quiz at the end, and then in effect, it can become a learning material. So it's a really lovely way to be able to build that piece out. This is just an example here of a stream. I've just embedded this into the PowerPoint here. So this is just a simple stream of me showing you how to share a PowerPoint. So you can see, blah, blah, just click on it, just do that, click apply, and it's done. And that took me about 5 seconds to do. So simple. In the old days, we used to have things like Camtasia, we used to have to pay for licenses. We don't need to do that anymore. So have a look at Stream, think about using it for screen capture, think about creating training videos, internal training videos for people. Smaller the better, the quicker we can get those out, the better. Think about using it for team briefings. One client I'm working with at the moment, what they've started to do is the manager does a team briefing via video, which they used to do in the team meeting. Now everyone watches that beforehand and then they start the team meeting. And it means that actually the team meeting is much more succinct, much more interesting, because they're not having to hear all of that all together in the same space. So those sorts of ideas could be really useful for you to use and share as well. And my last one out of these kind of key three pieces here is forms. I love forms. Always been a fan of SurveyMonkey in the past, then used Google Forms, and then Microsoft picked up on it and really started to create Microsoft Forms. Forms is really simple to use, a great interface, allows us to create themes within there, really easy to put up any kind of question. We've got multiple choice, we've got Likert, we've got Net Promoter Scores in there now as well. We can build out branching now as well within our forms, all of those sorts of things. But again, the secret I want to share with you is the amazing ability to add in a QR code. So now within any form, when we share it, we can simply ask it to create a QR code specifically for that form. We can then download it, add it to an end of a presentation, put it on an email, print it out and stick it on a lamppost, whatever it is we want to do, and use them in that way. And again, a recent client we've been working with created the QR codes. This is a housing association, and now the caretakers, when they go into a communal area, they scan the QR code, they type in the information, they take a photo of what they've done. All of that information is just immediately uploaded into forms, and everyone can see that they've done that job. That's such a simple way of using forms and has saved them thousands of pounds in software development. And the cool thing here, the thing I really love, is the notion that inside SharePoint, so SharePoint we use as a file document repository, but what's hidden and a little bit secret inside there is this notion that we can build our own websites. They call them communication sites, but you know, the old language used to use is intranet sites. So let's call it an intranet site. So we can go into SharePoint where it says new site, we click new site, we click communication site rather than a team site, and we build a website. We choose what template we want to use and we can build it. And what's really great about that, and the reason I'm sharing this with you now, is that you can add in all your documents into there, all your information in there. You can embed PowerPoints, embed Word documents, you can embed Excel sheets, so all of that information can be added in directly into there. But also you can embed Sway, Stream, and Forms. So this can become a really great central hub for us to start to play with and integrate these apps. And why I get so excited about 365 is the power isn't in these separate apps. The power is when we bring these together. It really creates something that can make a huge difference. Construction company that I've been recently working with, they've built these SharePoint sites like this for each construction site they're working on. So when people go to the work people go to the construction site, they log on via their SharePoint site. They do their end of day diaries on the SharePoint site using forms. Any expenses, they take a photograph, upload that via forms. They can add in accident forms, near misses, all of that stuff, and they get all their toolbox talks via Stream, and then all of their tutorials and learning is done via Sway. And that's all free. They've just made it, copied it for every site. Really fantastic. So have a think about ways in which you can use those 4 products together to create something that's quite exciting. So the next thing I want to move on to is OneNote and Lens. And I can't see the chat at the moment, but I hope some of you might be using OneNote already. It's something, again, that I think is really underpowered and underused within the 365 suite. But there's this other little product, Lens, that I want to share with you as well. So OneNote itself, on the surface, you're thinking, Kate, this is really not interesting. This is just basically a notebook. Don't get excited about it. Well, the great thing about OneNote is we can have as many notebooks as we want. Those notebooks we can share. So we can either share them with our team or share them externally or keep them just to ourselves. So we can create those sharing settings at that notebook level. So that's like us carrying around, instead of 15 notebooks, we just carry around our OneNote. Inside OneNote, then we have sections. Inside our sections, we have pages. Inside our pages, we have subpages. So if you like to be organized, it kind of does all of that for you. It becomes instantly searchable. We can search for anything in there. We can search for dates, we can search for locations, we can search for the text within there. And of course, what we can do is type in there. Again, not overly exciting. Until we realize that one of the biggest hidden features in OneNote is we can link it to our calendar. So we can go into OneNote, we can say insert meeting details, and the meeting information will drop in automatically into our OneNote page that we've opened. So any agenda items that are in there, any attachments, any of those sorts of things will fall automatically into that page, along with all the other invitees, who's attending, their email addresses, and any other information within there as well. So suddenly we can go to meetings and we can actually look organized. We look like we know what we're doing and we've got all that information to hand. We also don't need to be online once we've got that information pulled in. So then we can go into our meeting, we can start our meeting, we can type in our notes, but let's not bother typing. What we can do is we can dictate instead. Click the microphone button, start dictating, talk normally, and it will absolutely translate pretty much everything that you're saying fully into dictation. And the recent stats is about 3.7 times faster to dictate than it is to type. So it's such a quick way. Now I do all of my reports via dictation. I'm quite dyslexic, so it's much, much easier for me to do that. And then I just tidy it up afterwards. So that dictate function can save us so much time. Again, if we're working with young people, this is one of the most brilliant uses for people who might struggle with dyslexia or with any learning issues, because it's so much easier to use. And in the past, we used to have to buy, Drag and Dictate or Read Write Gold or all of these other products. Now it's built in. We've also got built into OneNote the immersive reader. And if you've not played with immersive reader, it's one of the things I'd really suggest that you have a look at. You click on immersive reader, open any document in OneNote, it'll turn it into, we can change the background. So if we want a yellow on black text, if we want a blue on black, any of those, we can change the color. We can allow it to split out into syllable reading. We can create lines so that for people with dyslexia, they're not waving around the lines so much. We can highlight verbs, we can highlight nouns, we can translate into any language immediately, and we can get read aloud. So if I've got a report to read, I open my laptop in the evening, open OneNote, click Immersive Reader, read aloud, and I'll listen to it while I'm cooking. So all that time that we can save, instead of having to read documents, we can do it really quickly within that space. There's loads more, by the way, in OneNote as well, but those are some of the kind of key things within there. But then to add on to that, the real power here is that if we use our little app called Office Lens, and this is free for any of us to download. I'm just going to show you it as we're talking. Well, you might be able to see my screen or not. But we can, hopefully if you can see my screen there, you can see at the bottom there, we've got the options to scan documents, whiteboards, business cards, and actions. So what this allows us to do is anything we've written on a whiteboard, anything we've written on paper, anything that's typed, all of those things, we can simply scan, click, capture, send to OneNote. It'll appear in our OneNote. Then we can right click and say save as text, and it will copy it in to OneNote as text. All of that time that we've spent in the past typing things up, typing up minutes or meetings or scribbles or actions, it's all there. And the cool new addition that they've just brought in is this one called Actions. You can see that one there. And this allows us, if you've got a printed Excel sheet or anything that's in a table, scan it, and it will, this is so exciting, it will drop it into a brand new Excel sheet for you. How exciting. So that piece, I think, is really, really exciting, and something that Microsoft are working on all the time and starting to build out other pieces for it. So, you know, there's something there also about for young people, you know, if they're scribbling or if they're writing on stuff, it doesn't matter, just to allow people to be able to capture that, and for us, capture it and bring it into that digital world. And therefore, we've got all of our information all within OneNote or within one space within there. How am I doing on time?
All good.
Okay.
You keep going.
Great.
We're
Okay,
enjoying
lovely.
it.
Great.
I don't know if you want to take a question in between on.
Yeah, do. Yeah, that'd be great.
Sway. There's 2 questions on Sway.
Yeah.
Can you export from a PowerPoint to ensure branding is copied across?
Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So one of the things that you might want to do is in Sway, build a corporate template. And then that way it works much better. So that requires a bit of fiddling around to get that right. But once you've got one, you can save it as a corporate template within there.
And then there's another one on Sway, which is we're using it for a monthly blog, but can't find a way of creating a collection of our blogs within Sway. So currently we have them all on one page.
Okay, that's a great question. So what I would do is build an intranet site and put them onto the intranet site, and then you can create them all into one space. So they're not meant to be collected in essence via Sway at the moment. They are meant to be sort of pushed out to somewhere else. So yeah, so I'd suggest an intranet site for that.
Okay, that's us for the minute. So we need some more questions on the current stuff, and I'll keep looking at them, and we'll pass them through. Okay.
Great. Okay. So another couple of apps I just wanted to share with you are 2 that are kind of, I think, a little bit ignored in the world of 365, which is Bookings and Lists. And these 2, as I say, are quite hidden within the space. But the first one I want to share is Bookings. And what Bookings allows us to do is surface our calendar in a way to either to the public or to staff or to students in a way that actually they don't see our calendar, but what they do is see our availability. So it's a bit like a doodle poll, but actually it's not a polling system, it's just availability. So if you want people to book in, say, for a mentoring session or a tutorial or one of those sorts of things, we can go into Bookings, decide what calendar needs to be shown, create little buffer times, you know, add in kind of, there's quite a lot of complexity within there. We publish the page. We can publish it either to the public web, or we can publish it just into an intranet, or just send people the link. And then they can come onto it, click on whatever it is they want, click on your name, click on a date, see the times that you're available, add in their details, click book. Once that happens, it drops into your email as a calendar, as an invite, sends you an email. If you approve it, then obviously then they get a response to it. And then you can set up reminders a bit like Eventbrite's, 2 days before, a day before, or 2 hours before, just a reminder. But the great thing about it is that if someone wants to change it, they just go back in and change it again. And all of that stuff is dealt with in the background. So instead of those old emails that would be, Maria, can we meet on Tuesday? Oh, I can do 2 o'clock. No, I can do 4 o'clock. No, I can only do Wednesday. All of that stuff. We don't need to do it anymore. So bookings is a lovely little product. It also allows us to book multiple people into one session, so i.e. a workshop. So if you want 10 or 100 or whatever into a session, create a workshop, create the number of people, it automatically counts down and then again drops into a workshop booking. So have a little play with bookings, see what you think with it, but I think it's a really underused and a really interesting product for us to play with. And alongside that, there's a product called Lists. Now, if you're a fan of SharePoint or have known about SharePoint Lists for a while, Lists has had a really big kind of revamp. Lists is basically a prettier and better way of seeing Excel sheets. So, you know, we all pretend that we don't use Excel to run our organizations, don't we? But fundamentally, we all do. And what it allows us to do instead of everyone having to log in, look at the Excel sheet and then update the Excel sheet, and often what they do is by accident overwrite another cell or by accident lose the formula, those sorts of things all disappear. So we can create this nice interface, you can see hopefully here, nice interface. And then when people click edit, you can have the drop downs. So you can see these, you know, first day, week 1, 30 days, that's a drop down list in Excel, but it comes up with different color coding. They can add their own notes, they can update it. And what it starts to do is create workflow, because people can come in, update it, go again, next person might get notified, and so on and so on. So Lists allows us to turn an Excel worksheet into a workflow document, i.e. what often used to be a bit of software. So there are some templates in there. There's templates for event planning. There's templates for asset tracking. There's templates for induction schedules. So there's some that we can pre-use, or if you've already got an Excel sheet, you can convert that into a list. And again, the brilliant thing is Lists and bookings all move into that SharePoint intranet environment as well. So Lists work beautifully in SharePoint intranet. They also work beautifully inside Teams as well, inside the Teams channels. So have a little play with both of those and see what you think. Just got a couple of quick ones just to kind of get through, if I may, before I run out of time. So the other two that I think are really great to have a play with is Planner and To Do. And these two are more about organising yourself or organising projects or particularly organising tasks. And when we've been in this remote world, Planner and To Do have been real godsends in terms of managing people. So Planner is a bit like Trello, if you've ever used Trello before. It again integrates really well with Teams and with the intranet sites. And in effect, what we have is lists, and in our lists we have cards, and in our cards we can add multiple points of information. So we can add titles, due dates, the action, images, attachments, we can label them, we can assign them to people. So what this starts to do is create a really great project plan, really simple for everyone to use, and everyone updates the project plan, doesn't update you via email. So that's the real critical change here, is we stop sending each other emails, and instead of that, we update the board. So Planner, really simple to use, great for group work, and as I say, building group plans and group projects within there. Do, on the other hand, is a personal piece. And if you're managing other staff, what's great is these personal lists can also be shared with you as a line manager. So you can create your own to-do list. You know, it's nothing glamorous, it's a to-do list, but you can add due dates, you can add files, you can add all of that sort of stuff in there. But what's brilliant is it connects to your Outlook. So any email that you flag in Outlook drops into your to-do list, and it connects to Planner. So anything you've been assigned in Planner will also drop into your to-do list. So it starts to create an environment where actually all that stuff is coming together. Also inside OneNote, if you use the little tags to do, they will also drop into to do. So all of that coming together creates a really powerful app, and it's brilliant on your phone. It's really intuitive and easy to use in that sort of space. So to do for personal lists, and Planner for group projects and those sorts of environments. And I just want to end on these two as well. So the Power Suite that we talk about, which is Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power BI, are the kind of three which are in the Power Suite. But the two I want to talk about is Automate and Apps. And the first one I want to talk about is Automate, which is a really clever little product that allows us to automate those manual things we do in work every day. So for example, if an email comes in with this particular title, send it to someone else, copy it to this person and drop it into my OneNote would be an Automate. Or if someone puts up a news item in the intranet site, alert me that that's in there. Or if someone tags me in a social media post, save it into an Excel sheet with the date and time next to it. So there are hundreds of little templates in there that we can use, and we can either just apply, or now there's a really cool area in here called AI Builder that allows us to click record, do the task, and it will record that task and turn it into a Power Automate. If you're using products outside the 365 suite as well, it's great in terms of, in effect, it creates an integration pathway into 365 as well. So Power Automate, really clever, can save lots of time. And Power Apps actually allows us to build our own apps. So there's lots of templates, so we can publish these for tablets, for mobile phone use. People, again, don't have to have a 365 account if you don't want them to be able to use them. But what it allows us to do, in the old days, we'd have to build this out of a software product. Now we can just literally drag and drop and create an app environment. Some of the examples in there, for example, there's one called Meeting Capture, and it drags in the date, the meeting agenda into there. It allows you to type, it allows you to dictate. So that's all a bit like OneNote, but next to it, you can add in tasks that will automatically drop into Planner. Underneath, there might be a little form that you could fill out and create some structured data. There's a place where you can add in photos, a place where you can draw, and then at the end of the session, you click save, and automatically all of that information goes to all of the attendees, all of the information saved in OneNote, and all of those actions are dropped into your Planner. So that's that kind of notion of building these things out, build them once, and then people can really benefit from them going forward. I wasn't going to talk about Power BI, but I would just mention, and then the last one in the Power Suite is Power BI, which is just the notion of actually bringing out and surfacing our data in a way that looks much better. It's an amazing suite, really, really powerful. And what's great now is we can also publish this either publicly or again on our intranet sites or through Sway. So these kinds of things, and information can come from Excel, it can come from Zero, it could come from Dynamics, it can come from any of those locations, but bringing it into one location so that you're able to see data real time, you'll be able to dig into it, and you're able to really interrogate it in that way. So I'm just a bit over time, so I'll just stop there if that's useful. But I hope that's been a useful whistle-stop tour of, I haven't got through the 34 apps, but I hope that's about 10 apps to get you excited about today and take up hopefully the rest of your afternoon.
I think you're going to take your passion more than anything into the afternoon for sure. There's a fantastic presentation and fantastic passion. There are some questions coming through. which is great. It's always good to see engagement. One is about Power Automate. It says, can you use Power Automate to add an incoming emails content into a list?
Oh, now that's a challenge. The answer is I don't know, have a go. So you can certainly drop it into spreadsheets. So therefore you should be able to drop it into a list.
Okay, cool. Let's have a look, see what else we've got. How do you make Excel allow multiple users in 365?
So that's the sharing function. So inside sharing, the great thing about Excel when we open it up to either to the whole domain or to certain people within there is that everyone can use it other than the cell that you're in. So it doesn't freeze the whole document, it only freezes the little cell. So it does allow multiple contributors at that level.
Okay, I think that's all the questions from the chat. I don't think I've missed any there. So that's great. I have a question for you then. So, what's your favourite out of all of the suite, or the most
Oh,
used, perhaps, is
great.
probably.
Well, OneNote for me is my most used and my most loved product because I love the ability to dictate and then the ability to read aloud. So those for me are great. And also, I'm not a terribly organized person, so it actually keeps me much more organized in that world. So all my meeting notes I've structured, and I've got some little templates that help me add in actions and all those sorts of things. So yeah, so that one for me is my killer app, really.
Yeah, brilliant. I think that there are so many things there. I mean, we've got some super fans on OneNote, by the way.
Ah,
If you
brilliant.
if you look through the chat, there's like, yeah, I love it. It's amazing. I use OneNote as a journal, personal journal. Somebody's saying somebody's using it for project planning. So yeah, all good. So yeah, we definitely got the super fans in the room. So what we're going to do now, if you've got any more questions, please fire them in. You can either unmute yourself and just ask it, because I'm quite happy for you to do that, or you can drop in the note. Oh, there's one here. Any suggestions for the best way to link data, a bit like a Sankey chart, from Excel into a relationship chart with many to many links? All the data is text.
Gosh, that's a really good question. Um,
Yeah,
I, I, I think probably Power BI would be a really interesting one there, but you might need to put something in front of it to turn the text into something more structured. So I think that's a really interesting challenge. Let me have
yeah.
a think about that one when you have a
Okay.
breakout room because I think that's yeah, it's a really good challenge.
Okay. And if we don't know all the answers now, I'm sure we can come back to you with some. There's one here. I've created a communication site for the company, which I then connect to Teams as a channel tab. Great function. Even easier than building a website in WordPress. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
really
absolutely. That's
nice
brilliant.
comment.
I built our intranet site for the business in an evening. It's just so easy to do.
Wow,
Have a go.
amazing. I've not used Power BI myself, so that's going to be a new one to delve into.
Yeah, we're just building our social impact through Power BI,
Cool.
and the aim is to publish that on the website. So again, it's real time. So as we're doing work, the idea is it just continuously adds to that information. So that's the kinds of things that are worth exploring with it as well.
So, would anybody like to ask any more burning questions, or share a takeaway that they're going to take away from themselves that they're going to do, and ask another question, Kate, before we close up today?
I jump in, Julie.
Yes, please.
Hello. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Laura.
Brilliant. Oh, there's a question in the chat as well, so make sure we do that. But brilliant, like, insight into how good Microsoft 365 can be, or is, if you can use it. I was saying to our group that because I work in university, I can't imagine the transition to using all the tools within a large organisation that's got people who've worked there for a long time, who use other apps and other things. That transition being easy. I can see it being much easier for someone who's maybe setting up their own business or a freelancer or a very small company that you can then implement it and work it into everything from the beginning. So is there any tips that you would give to, I don't know, you don't have to advise the University of South Wales where I work, how to implement it, because I know that we use it as a for the intranet and everything at USW. I've just noticed that from exploring it through your talk. Didn't realise it was all linked. But also for an individual, maybe if I wanted to use it as an individual rather than for the institution, what advice would you give to people to sort of get into using it, I guess?
It's a brilliant question, Laura, because actually, I've been working recently with the police, so very similar sort of size organisation, types of people working there, those sorts of things. And actually, what really changed their perception of 365 was getting the leadership team involved. So doing some sessions with them, showing them the whole suite, doing what we call orientation sessions, and then saying to them, right, how could we use this to improve the organisation? And actually it empowered them to make those decisions and felt like it wasn't being imposed on them. And also then what we've done is we've built 365 champions or digital champions generally inside the organisation, and then and trained them heavily on, so they've become specialists in certain apps that they love. And then what we're finding is that then their enthusiasm is starting to push out to others. So it is very incremental. The other thing that we've done with quite a few organizations is built a principles document, which says use 365 as much as you can. Things like it will say 365 is the first product we use in the organization, and then some restrictions or some things, just so that everyone's got a sense of what the boundaries are with it as well. And that's been a really helpful kind of cultural change in organizations. So yeah, so there's sort of different approaches really to make that difference.
Yeah, I think the training is obviously essential. We were looking at the help, and I was looking at the Microsoft site itself.
Yeah.
Are there sort of training videos on each of the apps? That's what I was looking at, because I'm much better learning from a video than I am kind of reading through documents and things.
Yeah, me too, Laura. And so in Teams, there's a help section that's fantastic. And at the bottom of Teams, there's I think it's called News and Updates now, or it's changed its name recently. But down there's lots of help. 365 site itself, but there's also a great guy I follow on YouTube called Kevin Stratfirst, and he does lots of, I can see Eva's nodding there, lots of kind of
I think that's the one we've just had. Eva's just shared his videos with us,
brilliant.
I think. So
brilliant. Yeah, so he's great for finding little tips, and it's really about, to me, this is more about a mindset change than it is a skill set change, because none of them are difficult to use, but actually we need to say to people, look at this and what we can use here.
Yeah, you need to know what each of the apps can do to know where you can apply it in a way, don't you? So it's sort of a two-way thing. Yeah. Okay, I'll stop talking now because
that's great.
Great. Anybody else got a question for Kate? Yes, Catherine.
Yes, I'm getting quite excited by the possibility of using SharePoint to create microsites. And the first thing I thought of was doing an intranet for our organisation, so we can put important documents there and expenses forms and that kind of thing. And also share our social media channels so people are updated in our newsletters. But I was wondering if SharePoint can be used to develop microsites. So say, for example, we had a specific project we were doing that we wanted it to be viewed externally. How does that actually work?
Yeah, really good question. So SharePoint can't be shared publicly, so it can't live on the Google Index, for example. It's not a public thing, but it can be shared externally depending on how your business IT department set it up. So you could share it with, say, 10 or 20 partners. You put their domain in, and then they can access it. So there's a way to do it in that way, but it's not meant to be in effect a replacement for a public website.
Okay, thanks. That explains it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Great. Anything else interesting come out of the groups or the discussions, or any questions that you've got? Anything else? Or anything that you're going to do now today that you weren't going to do yesterday as a result?
I think there's Lady Mollo J03. I think, are you speaking? Yeah, you're on mute. Oh, hang on, let me.
Sorry, I thought I'd unmuted myself. Just a very quick question. What was the name of that man you said, Kevin, somebody who's got lots of tips?
Oh, Eva, do you mind putting it into the chat? Can you put a link into the chat?
It's in there. If you look
is it?
It's in the chat.
There. Yeah, it's in the chat now, Molly.
Ah, right, the link to the YouTube.
To the YouTube, yeah. There's a whole list of his stuff.
Brilliant,
and
thank you.
anything between 5 and 20 minutes, I think, in length,
Yeah,
something
they're
like that. And they're quite sort of quite a snapshot. I mean, I was saying to our group, sometimes his is a bit of an irritating American brawl. He's talking in, but he's actually very clear, and his screenshots are quite nice, and he really talks it through. So it's really good.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Another top tip. Great. We can send that round on the email. So just before we close, is there anything else anybody wants to share from any of the groups at all, or anything that you want to add or ask? What do you? So let me anybody who would like to say what they're going to do differently tomorrow that they from the talk today. Who's brave enough? Anybody? Yes, go Joy. Is it Joy?
Yes, cheers. Yes. Hi everyone. Yeah, I am definitely going to look at lots of these different things. I need to sort of grasp how they might fit into our sort of organisation, and particularly within our department, I guess. But there's a few that I've noted where I'm thinking they'd be really, really good. So like the Sway, for example, and OneNote, which I don't currently use and hadn't heard of. Well, I'd heard of OneNote, I think, but certainly not Sway or any of the others. So quite exciting, really.
Yeah, it's good to know they're free as well in
Yeah.
the suite. Okay, great. Well, we'll wrap up a little bit early today unless anybody's got anything else. Let me just another message got in the chat. Just check. Okay. So there's another YouTube there for you to look at, and we'll send those things around to make sure you've got those. I just want to say a big thank you to Kate for giving up her time today to share with us. Big thank you to everybody who's given up their lunch break and now needs to go and dash and get something. And don't forget, if you're interested in the degree apprenticeship from a business point of view, to get in touch with Maria. And again, we can put that on the email that goes out, if that's all right, Meg, just to put Maria's contact details in there for the degree apprenticeship. And the next one we've got is in September, and we'll send you the details of that as well. So it's just nice to stay in touch. It's good to have a chat over lunch, and it's not meant to be a long thing, but it's meant to be a great thing. So I think we've achieved that today, Kate, with your help. So thank you very, very much for joining.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
great. Bye everybody. Have a great rest of the afternoon and a great weekend. And enjoy using all the apps.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.